Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. So, this is a live broadcast, a special live broadcast of Talking Business. If you guys don't know, I started this show some time ago and it's been on hiatus for about a year. So, I brought it back because, we all inside. So, I just wanted to really quickly check to make sure that everyone can hear me, just making sure that there's no audio issues, no video issues. I'm just checking it out here. So if you're out there, just give me a thumbs up or put a comment. Let me know if you're hearing the audio all good. If there's any problems, I will try to fix it as we go. And so I'm just checking here really quick before we proceed. Hello there. Hey, Dave. Dave, can you hear us all well? Let me know if you're hearing the audio good or not. Greetings from ATL. Hey, Dave. Thank you for joining. Just let me know if you can hear the audio good or not. Sounds great. Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, we'll proceed. All right, great. So let us begin. So a little bit of housekeeping really quickly. Please do share the show with your friends and your colleagues in the area. If they want to join, they could join in on the live broadcast. The show is interactive, so basically, if you guys make any comments or have any questions as we're going through this, please put those questions in the comment section, and I will pull those questions in so that your questions could be answered, just in case I don't ask a question that you guys were dying to know. So please do drop those questions down below. So what is this show about? So like I said, I started this show a while ago. It was started because I wanted to sit down with real business owners to learn from their experience, understand how they're running their business, and more importantly, learn what not to do. And I felt that that was good information for you guys' audience to basically get that information from real business owners. Each of these shows, I try to focus it around a very specific topic. And on past shows, what I have covered is going from your 9 to 5 to going to full time, if that was something that you were into. Now that show that I started, that first show was big. The guest that was on that show was John Chapman, and John Chapman was the guy that actually inspired this Talking Business show. He did a Facebook video that really inspired me, and that from that video it basically started this show. So go watch those past shows. We also cover topics such as how to get into senior photography with Photo Me Ike. If you guys don't know Photo Me Ike, he is another YouTuber that's out there, and he's also a great photographer in the industry. So go check him out. We also cover some other topics with Manny Ortez when he transitioned from closing down his old YouTube channel and started a new YouTube channel, which was a very risky thing to do, but we all see now that it pretty much paid off for him. So all those shows is available for you guys in the archive, so go ahead and check it out. There's a lot more topics there that we cover. Tonight, what we'll be covering is what every photographer needs to know about business insurance. Business insurance is really important. And our special guest tonight, her name is Ashley Nicole Strickland. She's from ATL, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So before we get into talking about Ashley and her background and introducing Ashley, some other things that is covered on this channel is cinematic lighting. So we cover cinematic lighting on this channel. So not just Talking Business, we cover videos. We have tutorial videos on cinematic lighting, posing, and composition. So if those are things that you're into, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification button so that you guys could get notified when videos like this comes out and tutorial video come out. So, as I mentioned, Ashley Strickland is our special guest. She's been in the industry for 13 years. Well, she's been in the, well, let me just read her bio, okay? So, 13 years insurance industry veteran turned wedding photographer and risk management coach. Ashley Nicole helps creative professionals eliminate unnecessary risks that cost them time, money, and endless stress. As a risk management coach for creatives, Ashley strives to advocate for and equip creative business owners with the knowledge and tools they need to manage their risk and safeguard their business with proper insurance planning and risk management best practices. Whether she's capturing love with her camera or helping creators protect and grow their businesses, she brings the same energy and dedication to all she is blessed to reach. Ashley is based in Atlanta, Georgia, where she lives with her husband and three daughters. So now we'll bring on Ashley. Hey, Ashley, how are you?
How you doing, Ernesto?
I am awesome. How is ATL treating you?
It's good. It was rainy today, but every day is a good day. We'll just say that.
I was in ATL once on a business trip last year,
Hmm.
and what they say about the traffic is really true. I wasn't gonna believe it. Actually, when I came in,
Yeah.
when I left the airport, the traffic wasn't that bad. But the next day,
Hmm.
when I was leaving to go back to the airport, I was trapped in this traffic. I was like, why is the
It's
traffic so bad?
it's no joke, and I consider myself a really nice person, but when I'm behind the wheel, I turn into somebody else. So yeah, you take it in stride though. You just kind of get used to it, and you learn the back roads. But yeah, it's no joke.
Man. So, so I know you're married with three kids, right? So, how are
Yeah.
you and your family dealing with the current lockdown situations? Like, are you putting your kids on daily timeouts?
uh, Probably, but no, seriously, it hasn't been that bad. Like I really kind of look at it like a blessing in disguise because I get to spend more time with them. I have become the teacher and the cafeteria lady and the principal and all that stuff. So it's been a big adjustment, but school is officially over as of Friday. So we're gonna take a week off and then we'll probably just get back into summer learning. So, but it really hasn't been that bad.
Wow.
Not like I thought it would be.
Wow. 1 week off. What are you guys going to do?
Sleep. Sleep. Pretty much.
Yeah.
But no, my husband, he's an essential worker. He works for the city of Atlanta, in their watershed department. So he's still going, out into the city every day. But as for us, we're kind of home. We got him a pool, so they play in the backyard. We do little scavenger hunts. So I've got a whole little schedule plan. You'll learn I'm a little anal. So we have a schedule planned for the summer. So we'll see if we stick to it or if we veer off of it.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. Everyone's quote unquote schedule that they had is pretty much has been tossed away, and now everyone have to come
Oh
up with
yeah.
a brand new schedule. And
Yeah, the bedtime schedule is non-existent.
yeah. Does I know you say your husband is an essential worker? Does he help you out with your business in any shape or form?
He does. So he's kind of my sounding board. And he probably doesn't like it because I get mad if he doesn't like a photo that I like. But when I take images, I'll bounce things off of him. I'll a lot of times I go out like scouting for locations, and I'll send him pictures and ask him what he thinks. He helps me with the business side too. He's an entrepreneur as well, so he kind of helps me stay on the right track. But he actually is the reason I'm a photographer. He bought my camera. He kind of put the bug in my ear to do it. So if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have realized how much I loved it.
Wow. So that was one of my questions I was going to ask you. Like, why photography, and not something else? I know it's different for many different photographers. When they get into the,
Hmm.
I wouldn't say necessarily the business of photography, but when they necessarily pick up that camera, there's a
Hmm.
there's some type of reason that forces you to do it. Well, not forces you, but gives you the option to do it. I was just curious what was yours. It seems like it was your husband that basically guided you in that direction.
So for me, like I said, I've been in corporate America ever since I graduated college. I got my degree in risk management, and was just two weeks later, I was at that cube. And after for a while, it was fine. I like insurance, But I just kind of got tired of sitting there, and you would look out the window on the street, and of course I'm in this big high rise, and I see the people living their life and enjoying it, and I'm like, what can I do to get out with them? So I prayed for a long time trying to figure out, what I wanted to do. I used to plan weddings when I was back in college. I planned a couple of my good friends' weddings. So I knew weddings were something that I liked, but I still never put photography in it. And I've always kind of been like, dare I say, the hoarder. I literally have a box from middle school and high school of like memories. So it's always been fun for me to kind of look back on everything. And I didn't realize how much I took pictures until my husband one day when I was, I guess, bugging him about what can I do? What can I do to get out of my cube? And he was kind of like, why don't you think about being a photographer? You always had that camera in somebody's face. So I took a couple classes online, and there was a 2-day workshop from a really, really, really awesome photographer here in Atlanta, Ross Oscar Knight. And I took his workshop, and I remember sitting in the workshop, and I was like, I have to do this. And that was kind of all she wrote.
So that's how you made the plunge from your
Mm-hmm.
9 to 5 to photography.
My husband bought my camera, and that was kind of it. And it's like once I got a taste of it, I couldn't get enough. So when you realize you really have a passion for something, you're always hungry for it. And I just dove head first in it, and it's been awesome.
That's great. So what are some of the challenges that you dealt with starting your photography business?
Trying to balance a 9 to 5. So for the first 2.5 years, I was at my 9 to 5. And I'm one of those people. Of course, I have a husband, I have children, so I've always been able to juggle. But I didn't realize how much the want to do photography would really kind of overtake everything else. So it was really, really hard not to pay attention at work, but not to, log in to show it, to try to update my website while I was at work, or, talk to clients. So learning how to balance both was a big struggle for me in the beginning. The second thing was kind of just feeling, I guess mothers deal with it, all parents probably do. When I was doing photography, I felt like I should be hanging out with my kids or my husband. And when I was with them, I felt like I should be doing photography. So it was like this lose situation after a while, until I really figured out how to, find that happy medium. But I found it, and like I said, sometimes I veer. I'm sure my husband will say I talk about it too much. But for the most part, I figured it out, and it's been working.
So I know a lot of people would say mentors are a very important thing to have in your life. So I guess during those early stages of starting a business, or even to now, do you have like a mentor in your life that help guide you with your business?
So I do. So my first mentor is Ross Oscar Knight. I love him. I'm like obsessed with his work. But he and Michelle Harris Templeton, she is a wedding photographer up in Virginia. And of course, Ross is here. Well, he's in Syracuse now, but he was based in Atlanta. But those two are the two that I kind of look to, that offer advice, kind of help me out. Michelle helps a lot on the business side as well, making sure, I've kind of found my niche, and, I knew about the ideal client. Like, I didn't know about any of that. I just knew I wanted to take photos. So both of them kind of really helped steer me in the right direction. And I feel like they really helped me kind of hone in on where exactly I want to be in the photography space.
So I'm sure in the time that you have your photography business, there's been a bunch of challenges that you have to deal with. I don't know if you were in business when not the lockdown, but when the economy pretty much
Mm-hmm.
went into depression, right? But where we are right now with this lockdown situation, how do you think creatives will emerge from this situation? Like, how are you preparing your business for the eventual opening, if you would, of all businesses?
Well, I'm definitely updating my contracts to have to have a clause in here to cover me, in case something like this, God forbid, happens again. But I think it's been good, and I think the photographers that will take the time right now, while it's kind of like this lull in business, to kind of work on the back end, work on the customer service part, update their products. I mean, really try to refine their business. I think they will be just fine. And that's honestly what I've been doing. Like I said, I'm a little anal. So I love like workflows, and they're probably ridiculously complicated, but I love them. So Dubsado, I've been going in, that's who I use. I've been going in and making sure, everything is in the proper shape and in the proper order. And, I'm always that type because I have so much on my plate. The less that I have to do, the better. So Dubsado is literally like my personal assistant. Eventually, I'm pretty sure everybody needs one as they continue to grow in their business. But for right now, Dubsado does just fine. But I need something set up, so I click a button and it just kind of goes to town for me.
Yeah, my business partner turned me on to Dubsado, and we started using it
Hmm.
some time ago now. Pretty
Hmm.
nifty tool. I kind of love it.
It is.
It's very I don't know what to say. It's very you could do a lot with it. You can do a lot with it. It's flexible. That's the word I was looking for. It's very flexible,
Hmm.
and it gives you a lot of
Hmm.
options,
Hmm.
which is great. So,
And it can be a little. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was saying it can be a little intimidating at first because it's so robust. You can do a ton with it, but once you figure it out, I mean, it literally becomes your best friend.
Yeah, um, I had to invest a significant amount of time to understand how to lay things out properly. But I think was the
Hmm.
key, just like you said, the key is the workflow. Like once you get a workflow, you can then apply that workflow to it, right? You can't approach it the other way around. Like you can't say, okay, I want to go into Dubsado and move things around here and there. It's like
Yeah.
have a workflow first, then go into
Hmm.
Dubsado and apply it. So that's very important.
Yep.
So why did you become an advocate to provide creative small business owners with the knowledge and tools to manage their potential business liabilities? Where did that passion come from?
So for me, so my mother has been in insurance for over 30 years, and I'm 35. So she would come home every day with these magazines talking about like different risks and how to protect your business. So it's kind of always been ingrained in me a love for like managing risk and insurance. So when I graduated with my degree in risk management, of course I'm immersed into this world, so it's all I know. And sometimes you don't really realize everybody else isn't as hip to what exactly they need as far as insurance is concerned. But once I became a photographer and I started talking to makeup artists, and of course other photographers and videographers, planners, even venue owners, I just realized a lot of people either didn't have insurance, they weren't covered properly, they thought they had the right coverage, and it turns out that they didn't, or they just were running from it. Period. That insurance kind of gets a bad rap. They're kind of like the big bad boogeyman. So a lot of people just choose not to even, partake in the process of insuring their business. And I just realized like how much people didn't have it. And I know how much it helps and how much it can literally save you from having to close your doors. So I decided to use, the tools that I had or the knowledge that I had to try to help other people, especially, other photographers and other creatives in the wedding industry, to just make sure that all this hard work, all these sweat and tears that we're putting into these businesses, it doesn't end up being in vain if we get, a $10,000 or $20,000 claim.
Yeah. So, in your time being an advocate, what are some of the I guess disaster stories that you heard of folks either having or not having insurance?
So the main one that sticks out in my head, he was a big time photographer. He was shooting a wedding, and a lot of other wedding photographers I know they can relate. When we're getting those getting ready shots, all we're concerned about is just getting the right shot, making sure that dress is in the most perfect place that it can be. So he hung the dress, but in this gorgeous hallway. But he hung it from the sprinklers, so when he got the shot, of course, he took the dress down, everything was just fine. But apparently when he was removing the dress, I don't know what he did to the system, but it set it off. But it didn't set off immediately. It was kind of like a delay. So of course they go ahead and leave the hotel, and they of course start shooting. So after everything is over, he gets a call from saying that we saw on video that you hung a dress from a sprinkler and it went off on 2 or 3 floors. So we're gonna need your insurance information because we've estimated that the damage is about $40,000. So of course he had insurance, so he was able to get it covered. And that particular line, he didn't have a deductible, so he didn't have to pay a dime. And they took care of everything at the hotel. Now I know if that had been any of us, especially me, and I didn't have insurance, $40,000, my doors would have closed. Like there would have been no way for me, to pay that. So that's one of the like biggest that I've heard of. I keep getting stories all the time, so I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there that's had something a lot larger. But yeah, a $40,000 claim just that quick, and it's doing something that we normally do all the time.
Wow. Yeah, I think a lot of people would be folding their businesses,
Hmm.
well, small businesses, I should say, be
Yeah,
folding if they have to fill such a claim for 40K. And
yeah, yeah.
that's, that could have been more. Thinking about
Honestly,
that.
it could have. Because think about it, especially the way they're connected, it could have set off all the floors. But if you
Yeah.
think about like wallpaper, it was a really nice hotel too. So I'm sure the guest belongings were damaged, and then of course like the paint, the walls. I mean, and even just the cost of repairing the system or putting the system, back to where it needed to be. So yeah, you're right. It could have been a whole lot more. If somebody had slipped and fell,
Yeah.
then that could have been even more added on to him. Like people don't think about those kind of things. So that's why I'm here to remind you, get insurance.
That is true. There's plenty of scenarios out there that you don't think about, but when it does happen, it's good to have.
Exactly.
So I heard you said there's like 22% of small businesses that don't have insurance.
Yes.
Why is that?
A lot of it is mainly because of the cost. Well, number one, again, the insurance industry, it does have kind of a nasty reputation. A lot of people think that insurance agents are crooks, that they don't want to pay. But in all honesty, I think it's just a lack of education on the insurance industry's part. I don't think they've educated the consumer very well about exactly what insurance is supposed to do. So insurance is only supposed to restore you. It's not supposed to make you better than what you were. So if you had a clunker before, insurance is going to get you a clunker once if you have a claim related to like the car or something like that. So it's not going to make you better. I think the other thing that's the problem, we live in a very litigious society. So insurance companies have to constantly think about, okay, if this slip and fall claim happens, they could have an injury that's only about 7,000, but because they hired a lawyer, the lawyers that you hear on TV all the time, the claim is going to now increase because the lawyer is going to try to get extra money out of the situation, and a lot of it is due, and a lot of it isn't due. So the insurance industry is kind of in a tricky position, but I really think people don't get insurance because they're uneducated about it and the cost. I know a lot of small business owners. I hear them say, "Well, it just costs too much," and I ask them, "Well, what is it?" When you say it costs, well, I don't know. I just know it costs too much. But a lot of them have never gotten quotes, so they're unsure about what it really is. The average or the starting point of most business insurance policies that creatives need can honestly start as low as $35 a month. I have insurance for my business, and what I consider all the coverages that I pay right under $100 a month. So if you really think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's really nothing to make sure that if something happens, my business is not going to fold.
Yeah, that's first of all, I think people will find it very surprising that business insurance costs is so affordable. $35 a month to $100 a
Mm-hmm.
month is very, very affordable.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we haven't talked about the coverage of what that would be, but we're going to get into that in a minute. But they'll be surprised as well as that
Mm-hmm.
amount that they pay and how much they get covered for. So what are some of the folk tales that you have heard about business insurance? Like people telling you as to why is it that they don't want to get business insurance? What are their fears or myths?
Um, Cost, of course, is one of them. The other thing is a lot of people have had experiences where they have insurance and they have a situation, something happens, and then they go and file a claim, and then they find out that um, their claim is not covered. A lot of that goes back to the education part. Nowadays, it's so easy to go online and just find an insurance company, and you just click a couple boxes and you pick limits that you think you need. Nobody's told you exactly what you need, and then you literally can end it. You can give them your credit card information, and you have a policy, but you have really no clue about what you just paid for, or what what you just start with this company. So then, of course, you think, oh, I've got insurance, and then something happens, and then you're upset because that coverage is not there. But like I said, again, I think that is it's a lack of education, and I think again it's on the fault of the insurance industry for not making it a way for consumers to truly be educated about what exactly it is that they're purchasing. But a lot of times it is, they've heard horror stories, or I paid all this money and I had a claim and they told me it wasn't covered, or they think, oh, it's a long drawn out process to get my claim paid for and to get my business back up and running. And a lot of that is also due to the companies that people choose. So just like wedding photographers, or just like I don't know, anything that we do, different shopping centers. Every shopping center or every store isn't created equal. You get, say for instance, fast food. You get really good service from Chick-fil-A. You may not get that great of a service at McDonald's. And it's the same for insurance companies. That's why we as consumers and business owners, we have to do our research as far as these companies are concerned, because people are getting burned by the McDonald's of the insurance industry. And then they're telling, the rest of us about the problems that they face. And then we think that we're going to have that same issue, and it stops us from doing what we need to do to protect our businesses.
So when that is very good information to know. So when you're going to select insurance and you're saying you're
Mm-hmm.
picking on those options and you don't really know what you're picking, what are
Mm-hmm.
some key factors that small business owners should be looking for when they're going and looking or shopping for business insurance?
So my number one tip that I tell every, do not go onto a website and just click, and basically fill out the form. Like, I know you can do it with homeowner insurance, you can do it with renter's insurance, even, photography insurance. Don't just go to a website. Actually talk to, you don't have to go into their office, you can do it over the phone, but actually find a licensed agent in your state. You've got two really good things about doing that. Number one, depending upon what type of agent you choose, if you choose an agent that has access to a lot of different insurance companies, they're going to do the legwork for you. They're going to, number one, talk to you, and they're going to get all the details about your business. They're going to know about all the equipment you have, what you do, whether you go overseas and do a lot of destination work. And they're also going to be able to go to bat for you when they talk to all these different insurance companies, and they'll be able to get rates from a whole bunch of different places. So say for instance, if you were to go online with State Farm, State Farm can only give you State Farm's pricing. They can't tell you what ABC insurance company charges. So because of this, it's better to go, in my opinion, it's better to go to an insurance agent that has access to a lot of different people, because number one, they can do that legwork for you, and then they can give you the best rate. If you do find yourself online signing up for insurance, the number one thing I tell people to do is to know what, I guess, the standard limits are. So for general liability, the standard limit that most people should get is $1 million. It is ridiculously cheap to get $1 million general liability policy. It sounds like a lot. It's really not. The other thing that you have to be aware of is what the cost of the equipment that you actually have. So of course, most photographers know you need general liability coverage and you need equipment coverage. If you're online and you're just clicking, oh, I need about $10,000 worth of coverage, or I need $50,000 worth of equipment coverage, number one, you could be under-insuring yourself. And number two, you could be over-insuring. So we don't want to pay more than we absolutely have to. So if you're just clicking about, what you think you're estimating, it's not a really good thing for you as far as your pockets are concerned. So if you actually go to my website, ashlynicoleeducation.com, I actually have a free equipment schedule template that you can print out. You can either print it out and write it, because I know a lot of people like to handwrite things, or it's an Excel worksheet. And basically that allows you to keep track of every single piece of equipment that you have, and it allows you to put a monetary value to that equipment, so that when it's time for you to actually go online and get coverage for your business, you know exactly what you need, if that makes any kind of sense.
It does, which then lead me to this. What you just mentioned now got me thinking, like, at what stage,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, if you're a brand new business starting out, and obviously we're saying you should have insurance, if you're
Mm-hmm.
a brand new small business. So if you're filling out that form as you stated before, and you're saying, okay, well, this is what my business is right now, doing, photography. I don't have any assistants or anything like that, or I may have a assistant at some point in time. I guess my question here is, if your business is evolving over time, if you're just a one-man show today, and tomorrow you became
Mm-hmm.
you now have assistants that's working for you, and you now have, you might be doing like education, or you might be doing other things in your business. Do you then have
Mm-hmm.
to evolve your insurance that you have over time? Or does it, like, whatever
Yes.
you started at the beginning, it is what it is at the beginning, and you keep it and going?
So no, you definitely have to update your information. That's why I always tell people get an agent, because every year that agent is supposed to go over your renewal. A lot of times people's policies do what's called they automatically renew. If you have an agent, that agent gets a notification about 120 days or 90 days before your policy expires, and it's up to them to go through your policy and then contact you to see, hey, have there been any changes? Have you moved? Did you have any additional equipment? Did you hire anyone? Did you change the name of your business? Any type of changes that your business goes through, you have to let your insurance company know. I always say, think of your insurance company like your mama. You want to tell your mom where you are. You want your mom to have your address. You want her to know, what's going on in your life. You need to let your agent know too. And it's not so that they can, in essence, keep tabs, but you want to make sure that that policy that you're paying for is covering exactly what you do. So, for instance, I always tell a lot of people, everybody's getting education platforms now, which is perfectly fine. But you need to let your insurance company know that you're doing consultative work now, because you want to make sure that, number one, that insurance company will cover you for that, because some insurance companies have like very strict appetites. So they may like photographers, but they may not want you to teach it. So you want to make sure that they know that this is what you're doing. Number one, so that they can tell you whether they will cover it or not. They can add it to your policy. Of course, your premium is going to go up just a tad. They can also tell you if they won't cover it, so that you can go out and get insurance specifically for that piece. Because what you don't want to happen is you're out teaching or doing something, and then something happens and you file a claim to your insurance company, and they say, well, hey, we didn't know anything about you doing this. We're only covering you as a photographer. We're not covering, you as a teacher or some type of instructor. So
Yeah.
it's very important to let them know. Another instance could be if you move. I actually have a service where I go through people's insurance policies line by line, and I make sure that what they have is actually what they need. So I analyze the business, and then I analyze the policy, and then I give them recommendations on what needs to be changed. And I've seen several where the physical location is totally different. Say the photographer works out of their home, but now they moved, where their policy is still covering the old location. And 9 times out of 10, if something happens, that insurance company is going to come back and say, well, it's been a specific amount of time. It's been at least 90 days, and we didn't have notice of this. You don't have coverage at this new location. Or people, they move studios or whatever. You just need to make sure that they have the most accurate information and the most up-to-date information, so that if something happens, there is less likelihood that they won't pay out on that claim.
That is good to know, because I think one of the things that most people will think when they get insurance at the beginning is, okay, I got insurance. I don't need to change. They feel like
Mm-hmm.
they're all
Mm-hmm.
good. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
great information to know. So I guess the other thing, well, before I move on, I just want to mention that if you guys do have any questions, do drop those questions in the comments. I know there's one question that already came in, but if you guys have any questions, drop it in the comments, because if I don't ask a question that you guys are dying to know, well, please do ask those questions. Um, so, what are so in terms of home insurance, right? I was traveling
Mm-hmm.
at, I don't know, this was a couple of years ago. I was traveling to uh, Dubai, right? And I was like, okay, my insurance is gonna cover my home insurance. That is, it's gonna cover
Mm-hmm.
my equipment. I didn't get
Mm-hmm.
insurance at the business insurance at the time, and I was like, okay, home insurance is gonna cover me. Needless to
Mm-hmm.
say, I do have an agent. I did have an agent that basically got me insurance, and I didn't reach out to him before I left. But when I came
Mm-hmm.
back, I came to get a very happy, well, not a happy surprise. It was very depressing surprise. But luckily, nothing happened to me when I was overseas. But
Well, that's
what
good.
what does does home insurance cover your equipment?
Okay, so it's kind of a twofold thing. Number one, most insurance companies, homeowners insurance companies, when they find out that you have a business, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to cover that equipment because and honestly, it really depends on the insurance company. But most of the time, they're not going to cover it because they're going to feel like that's outside of their jurisdiction, if that makes sense. Some homeowners insurance policies do have I guess limits that are either included or can be added. And of course, if they can be added, that means you have to go to them and let them know what you're doing. But most of the time, it's not adequate. The limits are not adequate at all, and it's not the coverage is not enough. Say most homeowner insurance policies are not going to cover if somebody sues you because you lose their images. I mean, that's just not a coverage that most of them are going to have. So if they do offer you something, most of the time it's not going to be enough, and it's not going to be enough limit wise, and it's not going to be enough as far as all the different coverages that you specifically need. So I always tell people, don't lean on your homeowners insurance policies. Definitely go out and get something specific for your business.
Yeah. Yes, I was pretty happy that nothing happened to me. The question I have for you is there an insurance, a business type of insurance that you could get that will cover, like for example, wedding photographers that go
Mm-hmm.
to do weddings. We will typically like you do weddings, right?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Right. So you would bring like assistants on
Mm-hmm.
the wedding with you, and people that do commercial photography. They would have assistants. They would have people that do catering and all this good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Typically, how would those individuals, I guess, be covered, or would they be covered under your insurance?
Okay, so that varies by state. Generally, they would be covered if they were to actually file a claim. Like, say, I bring a second shooter. If my second shooter needed to file a claim, against my insurance, if she got hurt or something happened, or if she caused some type of damage, she would be covered. But again, that's on a state by state basis. So, for instance, in the state of Georgia, um, most of the time, if you have like employees, you would need what's called, of course, workers' compensation insurance if they got hurt or something like that. Um, if one of my second shooters got hurt in the state of Georgia, I'm not required to have workers' compensation until I have at least 3 or more employees. The other thing about that is each state is different as far as what they consider employees. Some states consider contractors employees, and they require if you have just one contractor that you need to carry workers' compensation to cover them in case they get hurt. But 9 times out of 10, with what we do, like second shooters and assistants, most of the time your insurance is going to cover if they hurt something or anything like that. But you need to make sure that you have them sign some type of contract, because a lot of insurance companies will say, well, were they actually a true contractor with you? Did you have a contract in place with them? And you want to be able to give that contract to your insurance company to show, hey, they were a true contractor with me. And 9 times out of 10, once they get that confirmation, they'll go ahead and pay on whatever the claim is.
And once again, if you have an agent, they'll help you navigate that type of a situation.
Yes. Yes, they will. And I mean, and it's the same. All agents aren't created equal. If you feel like you can't get a hold of your agent, if you feel like your agent doesn't ask you enough questions, if it's coming around time for your renewal and you have not heard from your agent, reach out, let them know, hey, these are the changes that I need. But a good agent is going to contact you, whether it's by phone call or via email, and just say, hey, your insurance is going to renew in this amount of days. This is what your quote is. Do you have any changes? What can I do for you? So if you're not getting that type of service, it's my opinion that you need to find somebody else. Because a lot of it is automated. Insurance companies, they have so many different clients. I mean, when I was working for an agency, I mean, I had a ton, but there's systems in place that remind you, oh, it's Ernesto's, his renewal is coming up. Let me reach out to Ernesto and see what's going on with his business, to see what kind of changes I need to make to his policy, if any. Sometimes there'll be times where you won't have to make any changes at all. But with the way we work, as far as photographers, our sales are going to increase. We're going to purchase equipment. I mean, there's going to be something that's going to change every year. You just need to make sure that they're abreast of it.
Yeah. Well, sounds like I need to get a new agent because he doesn't check up on me. But
Don't
he,
don't tell him that I told you that.
so I was I don't shoot many weddings, but when I do shoot weddings and have to go to venues, um, the most a venue ever told me that I have to have coverage for is $2 million. That's in terms of
Hmm.
insurance. That's in North
Hmm.
Carolina here. But I guess my question here is, what is the minimum? I guess from a photography perspective, a small business should have
Hmm.
for insurance coverage.
Okay. So that venue is, and you know that venue told you that amount to cover themselves. They're not concerned with you. And 2 million is actually a lot. Not a lot, but it's kind of above average as far as what they would require you to have. But generally, I feel most photographers need at least $1 million in general liability coverage. They need property coverage. Property coverage, even if you don't have an actual studio, because a lot of people think, oh, I don't have a separate location, I don't have property, but you have in your home, you have what's called business personal property. So that's the desk you're sitting at, this webcam I'm talking to you on, the computer, the laptop, that microphone that you're using. That's all considered business personal property. And if something happens in your home, you want to make sure that that stuff can be replaced too, because again, your homeowner's insurance policy may find out that you run and operate a specific business out of that home, and they're not going to cover that. So you need property insurance, and like I said, it's called business personal property. That limit will vary based off of, again, the value of all the things that you have in your home. The second thing that the third thing that photographers need is equipment insurance. It's called inland marine insurance, but most photographers, of course, call it equipment insurance. But basically, again, that limit is going to vary based off of the value of the equipment and the amount of equipment that you have. The other thing that I always tell people to get is what's called an umbrella policy. They are so cheap to get. The standard limit or the starting limit is $1 million on that as well. And basically, those umbrella policies, what they do is they actually it's twofold what they do. So, say for instance, if you get hit with a claim, you go to, I don't know, the St. Regis, and you rack up $2 million, or you rack up 1.5 million dollars worth of damage. Your general liability policy is going to cover that first million, but now you're left with another 500,000 that you don't have coverage for. That's where that umbrella policy will kick in, and it actually drops down, and it provides the additional coverage when your general liability policy reaches its limit. The other thing that an umbrella policy does is it helps to, I guess, fill in the gaps. So some policies may not have certain coverages, and a true umbrella policy may actually, I guess, drop down and fill in some coverage gaps that you may not even had. So say, for instance, if you have, I don't know, if you have some type of claim and your insurance company says, well, your general liability doesn't cover that, but you have this umbrella, most umbrella policies will drop down and will cover that claim, even though you truly didn't have coverage written in that general liability policy. So I like umbrellas, and like I said, they're cheap. You can go up as high as you want, and I know people, they even tell you to have them on your homeowners policies as well, because sometimes you just never know what could happen. One lawsuit, especially one frivolous lawsuit, I mean, that can knock that million out of the park quickly. So yeah, so umbrella is the fourth, and then the last one is professional liability. A lot of people think that general liability covers if you lose somebody's pictures, or if somebody sues you for negligence, as far as, I guess, your professional act. And that professional liability is also called errors and omission coverage. That's what's going to protect you for that. I always tell people, get at least 500,000 to $1 million on that as well. So me personally, I have $1 million just because I'm not very risk friendly. I want to make sure that I'm covered as much as possible. So I tend to carry higher limits than what people would assume. But I guess in my space in the insurance industry, I think $1 million is standard. You know, some people may think 10,000 is enough, but if you really think about it, even your $10,000 wedding photographer, if something happens and your client wants all 10,000 back, and then they have a really good, a really good lawyer, and then they want some other type of damages, repaid to them as well, that $10,000 on your policy is gone. So it helps to have, you know, a little higher limits just to kind of create a little buffer in case you do have that one-off claim where it's a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
But those are the main coverages. Outside of that, I mean, if you don't have any cars or anything that that your business owns, specific auto coverage you don't need, but there is a coverage called hired or non-owned coverage. A lot of times that's added to your general liability policy, and that covers your second shooters if they're driving on the way to the church and they get into a car accident and they don't want to put it against their personal insurance. Your hired or non-owned can actually cover them or cover you. Some auto insurance companies, I've heard, if they find out that you're on the way or you're doing something related to your business, they will ask you, do you have business insurance or do you have business auto insurance? And they'll refer you to use that policy instead of theirs. So it really depends on the insurance companies that you're looking at too, and what all they'll tolerate and what all they won't. But hired or non-owned coverage is something that's really, really cheap. It's probably like $100 or up to maybe $300 a year, depending upon your insurance company. So it's really good to have that too in place. But outside of that, those are kind of the main ones. We can go on and on and on. I can give you a whole bunch of different ones that you may need. Like cyber is another, because people are hacking. So you'll need cyber coverage because of course, if your systems are hacked, of course we all have client information that's stored. You're required by law to send out those emails that we all get when we got it from Equifax, or if something happens, you need to let people know that, hey, your information was compromised and all sorts of kind of stuff. Cyber liability will it'll help you manage that. A lot of policies now, they actually have what's called data breach coverage kind of included in. And you get a little bit of coverage there too, but again, it's not as robust as its own cyber policy. So it really depends on how much you want to spend, what your needs are, but you can go as deep as you need as far as covering your business. There's always a policy for something.
That now that you mentioned data breach, I know dealing in, like, if you have like an international business, like most photographers, like not most, some photographers do operate internationally as well, right? So they would have clients in Europe, let's just say. And I know Europe has very strict policies about sharing of their information, like their names and phone numbers and stuff like that. Does what that type of cyber insurance that you're talking about, if there is some type of a breach, like if you have some type of system that's working for you and that inadvertently exposes that person's information, would it cover that?
It would protect you. It would, a lot of them allow you to offer people services, kind of like the same with us, like when Equifax, when everything went wrong with that, they offered us like a year of credit watch, or I honestly don't remember, but they offer like services that you can offer to your clients to kind of help them get or stay protected in case somebody actually did get their information and was able to use it. But yeah, that coverage definitely will protect you there. You brought up another thing that I wanted to touch on. A lot of us do photography overseas. We do like destination weddings. I know I went to Jamaica last year and shot a wedding. If you're going overseas, it's really, really best for you to talk to your agent before you leave. Number one, to find out if where you're going, if that insurance coverage will actually follow you there. A lot of companies have lists of countries that they feel like are acceptable or unacceptable to them as far as risk is concerned. So say you're traveling to one of those countries where they're like, we're not, it's a little rough over there, we're not covering you if you travel there. You need to know that ahead of time so that you can purchase your own business travel insurance to make sure that you're covered as far as your equipment, or if you mess up something in a hotel over there. A lot of companies, like my insurance company, they will cover for overseas travel, but I have to let them know ahead of time. I have to let them know how long I'm going to be there, and it definitely has to be one of the countries that's on their approved list.
Now that's important to know. Again, a lot of people just get their insurance and just say, I have insurance, and forget about it, right? So these are very important things that we need to be aware of. So one thing that you brought up, which is the umbrella policy. Is there different types of umbrella policy? The reason I ask this question is because
Yeah.
I try to get umbrella. I try to get an umbrella umbrella policy. And one of the
Mhm.
questions that they had for me was, do you have any type of like online personality or profile or um,
Mhm.
aka YouTube channel, right? Do you have any of those? And this one insurance company kind of declined my request to get an umbrella policy because of that. So I'm trying to
Mhm.
figure out, is there different types of umbrella policies?
So there's not necessarily different types. There is something that's called excess insurance, and it is in it's pretty much the same thing, but an excess insurance policy will not necessarily drop down. Remember, I told you those umbrellas. Sometimes, if you don't have coverage, the umbrella will, I guess, provide coverage that you didn't have. As the excess will, most of the time, it will. Well, most of the time, it will only kick in once you've reached whatever your max limits are. It's not going to drop down and give you extra coverage. But what you're talking about is basically the appetite of the insurance company. Some insurance companies don't like. There are certain insurance companies now that do not. They will insure photographers all day long. They will not insure videographers. So there are a lot of us that may be doing videography in our businesses now, and we don't even realize that the companies that we have business that we have our insurance with, they don't like that's not in their appetite, so they won't cover any of that work. But it's just about their appetite. And it honestly, it depends on what kind of claims that insurance company has had. So they may have had some really, really, really big claims and stuff. Why they're like, nope, we're not. Each insurance company is at liberty to kind of pick and choose what their appetite is. So that's why I said it's really good to get an agent who has access to a whole bunch of different companies. Because, like I said, if you go to State Farm may say, well, no, we don't want to cover this at all. And then you're kind of stuck either going outside of them or, like I said, just stuck. Some people just choose not to do whatever it is that they're thinking about doing because the insurance company won't cover it. But most of the time, it's best to have somebody that has access to a whole bunch of things. But yeah, that's just their appetite. They probably had some really bad claims. You should have asked if they could get the information from the underwriter, because I would be very interested to know like what happened. Why don't y'all cover this? So yeah.
Yeah, well, I just say deuces and I went to someone else.
Yeah, and most of the time, I mean, and it's not personal, it's not personal at all. But I was actually shocked to learn and I still haven't. A lot of it is because of the media aspect of it, and like the studio aspect of it. But I mean, there are some that will not cover videographer. So I always tell people, look, if you're going into videography, definitely make sure that that's something they're going to cover.
Yeah. So before before I transition to the audience, so you guys, if you have any questions, please drop those questions in the comments so that I could pick it up and bring it up on the show. But before I go to that, is there anything that I guess that I didn't ask you that you would like to let the audience know about insurance and why it's important?
So the main thing, of course, I know I wasn't. You very well may have, but I didn't. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and I am one of those people who always feels like if there's something that's set up for me to be able to take the brunt of some type of trauma that my business has experienced, I need to invest in that. We invest in all this equipment. We invest in all these programs, these gorgeous websites. You don't want any of that work to be in vain. So it's imperative that you take the time, talk to someone who's educated about insurance to make sure that your business is insured. The number one thing I always tell people when it comes to looking into insurance is doing your research. Go online and check out the reviews that these insurance agents and these companies have. There's a website. It's called ambest.com, and you can go to that website, and it will tell you. You can type in the name of the insurance company, not the agent, but the company, and it'll tell you what their financial strength is and pretty much how reliable that company is. Because a lot of people can start just like photographers. Anybody can be a photographer. If you have the money and if you have the business savvy, you can start an insurance company. But it may not have the financial stability to handle a whole bunch of claims at once, or it may be okay now, but later on down the road it may have some issues. So you don't want to get a company who's not going to be able to withstand a hit of a couple of claims that are going to come by. So that website ambest.com is going to help you to see what the financial strength of that company is. It's my recommendation that you don't get anybody with lower than an A minus rating. They go as low as a E, I think, or an F. But generally, A plus and A are superior, and then A minus is, if I'm reading it correctly, if I'm remembering it correctly. But you don't want to go any lower than a good rating, and a good is no lower than an A minus. And those companies are going to have, like I said, the stability and the good financial outlook to be able to support you if your business needs that money paid out to it. So those are definitely two of the things that I always recommend to people to do. And like I said, again, your insurance company, talk to them like they're your mom. A lot of them are really nice. They're kind of boring. We're a little boring too. But you definitely want to have a good relationship with them so that they can help you when either a claim happens, or they can help you make sure that your policy is set up in case a claim happens. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, so let me just plug one thing really quick here, and then we're going to go to your questions, the questions that you guys have in the comment section. I saw a few come through as I was looking through the screen here, so I'll pull that up in a minute. But I wanted to talk about this show that I have coming up on June 1st. So on this show is we're gonna have a special guest. His name is Justin Case Kondo. Justin is going to be talking about how he was able to negotiate his first $20,000 photo shoot. So if you guys are interested in that, on June 1st, we're going to have another Talking Business show at 8 p.m. Covering that specific topic. And you guys don't want to miss that, so you're going to have to stay tuned for next Monday to see that. All right, so let's go to the audience question here. So there's one from Dave. So I don't know if you can see this on your screen.
I can't.
You can't. Okay, so Dave is saying here, does she know any other photographers that has been sued? I guess for.
Yes. Unfortunately, a lot of the photographers that I know that have been sued, it's been twofold. Some have been sued because they've lost images, particularly weddings, because you can't get that day back. I think the largest claim that I remember for that was a $7,000 claim, and that was, of course, errors and omissions or professional liability. I know of other photographers who have ruined wedding dresses. And that's the date of the wedding, so they've been sued, of course, for that. I've known other photographers that have caused other damage to other people's property, like the venues, and they've of course been sued for that. Photographers who have their own studios, their clients come in and they slipped and fell. Those slip and fall claims can really be nasty as far as the price, and especially depending upon like how old the person is or how they fall. This particular one that I'm talking about, this was a photographer in Florida. It was an elderly woman that came in with her two children to get photos done, and she slipped and fell on her hip, and it was like, I think it was like a $62,000 claim. So I've definitely heard of a whole lot. I mean, it's a lot of things, especially with what we do. If you pose someone a different way or a certain kind of way, and they pull something and they say that, oh, it's because of you, or if you make somebody stand on something and they fall, well, that's our fault too. So we have a lot of risk that I don't even think we really think about. If you follow me on Instagram, I like to post like weekly like reminders to have insurance, and they're like they're not cute, but they're little videos showing like photographers in situations where stuff has happened. One was a photographer he was posing a large bridal party on like this dock, I guess, that they built specifically for the wedding, and I guess he put one too many people on there, and as he's walking back, I guess, to place someone, everybody, including him and his equipment, they fall into the pool. So there's a lot of like things, I get the visuals that I try to show people to make them understand why they need insurance. But yeah, I come across I come across large claims all the time.
Wow. So Randy has a question here, and actually let me just position this properly. So Randy's question is, would insurance cover you when you're out of the country on location? I think you already kind of addressed this already. So I think I don't think we need to go back into that. So here's another question from Dave again. Dave is saying, does operating a sole proprietorship make a difference versus an LLC?
Not as far as insurance. I think that's more like the legality type stuff. But no, it doesn't matter as long as your company. A lot of times they don't even require you to have an FEIN number, but it's good to go ahead and have one. But as long as your business is filed with the Secretary of State or the Department of Labor, wherever you are, you can go ahead and get insurance, and it won't affect how they're going to pay out.
Okay, awesome. I'm just scrolling through here to see if there was any other question. That, mostly comments. So Dave was just commenting the fact that the story that you were just playing, talking about the 62K claim. He's like,
Yeah.
geez, yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
can't remember how old she was, but she was elderly. And I mean, especially if you fall and you hit your hip, the right way, that's a lot of medical insurance. So yeah. I mean, you have even stuff with like if you have a studio or even if you invite people into your home, if something happens, um, I've even heard of someone plugging up a customer's computer into the wall or something like that, and then there was a short, and then it ended up damaging the customer's computer, and they had to pay for that. So I mean, just random things that you would never think would happen. They're happening to people all over constantly.
yeah, that
So you just want to be prepared.
yeah, that is that. I mean, from a videography perspective, you definitely have to worry about that because for videographers, they definitely plug stuff in for
Mm-hmm.
lighting and stuff like that. For photography,
Mm-hmm.
if you're lucky enough to have the um, wireless lights, you
Yeah.
should be good to go.
Yep.
But you should be aware that any plugging in of anything into anyone's house, if you blow a circuit or something, it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm just scrolling through here to see if there's any more questions that came through. If not, I know you have a freebie, and I'm gonna pull that up in a
Yeah.
minute. Um, so, guys, if you're looking for that freebie that she has to offer, you're gonna want to stay tuned. So, hang on, I'm just really scrolling through here to see if there is any other comments or questions, rather. Uh,
And I want to tell you thank you too. I don't know if I said that in the beginning, but thank you for letting me come and talk to everybody. You see, I can talk about insurance all day long. It's
well,
my second love next to photography.
Well, thank you for being on the show. I mean, look, this is a very serious topic that people
Hmm.
should understand. There's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to insurance, and because when you get insurance, the paperwork tend to be so lengthy, people don't tend to read it, and what ends up happening is you end up talking to a lot of what what we refer to in the Caribbean as bush lawyers. I don't know if you ever heard that term. People
Hmm.
pretty much that don't
Hmm.
know, and they're just telling you what they think they know, and it just
Yeah.
becomes like this whole you know false tales that you get, and
Hmm.
going from one person to the next, and it just goes down the line. Hang on, let me just see here. But this just reiterates how much I need insurance. So that's from Dave. Insurance is important and a necessity. Yes, totally agree. All right, so let's go to your freebie here. So I'm going to put it up on the screen. Go right ahead. Tell us about it.
So, so basically, the freebie, I know everybody's like dealing with this coronavirus stuff, and I wanted to create a way to kind of introduce people into, I guess, managing the risk of their business. Because I know people think that it's solely about insurance, and that's a really big part. But just managing the risk that you have so that you don't potentially even have to use those insurance policies is another big thing. And a lot of people think that it takes a lot of money, and it doesn't. So I've created this freebie that gives you 5 free ways that you can reduce the business risk in your business that you're facing right now. I like it because it doesn't have a lot of fluff. I know a lot of freebies have like these, I guess, these philosophical things. Not no, these are actionable steps that you could take in your business right now that are going to reduce the risk that you have. So definitely check it out if you're interested. If you've never even thought about insurance and risk and managing it for your business and all that, it's a really good way to kind of get your feet wet into it and to just start thinking of that. Because I mean, a lot of us, like I said, we're small business owners. We don't have the money 9 times out of 10 to hire like specific risk managers. So that's someone who's going to constantly be thinking about risk for your business. So we kind of have to take that on. We wear a ton of hats. That's another hat you're going to have to put on. So this freebie is going to help you do just that. So if you're interested, you can definitely go ahead and sign up for it. Like I mentioned earlier, there's another freebie that I have on my website, and that is a free equipment schedule. So you can, like I said, get the PDF version, or you can get the Excel version, and you can start keeping up with the equipment that you have.
Awesome. And I guess folks could follow you at on Instagram at Ashley Nicole Education.
Yes, Ashley Nicole Education is where you'll find me. My weddings, if you're interested in that, is A Nicole Photos ATL, A Nicole Photos ATL. But yeah, you definitely can find me on Ashley Nicole Education, giving you tips. I'm gonna start doing like different challenges just to kind of get all of us in the mode of protecting our businesses, because people always think about contracts and they never think about insurance. And you can have the best contract in place, and a good lawyer will tear a hole through it, and then you'll still need insurance. So it's definitely good to invest in it, and it's definitely good to take a look at the risk that your business faces.
Awesome. Well, Ashley, I actually I saw you. Speaking of your wedding photography stuff, I've seen you on Instagram out
Mm-hmm.
there shooting with your mask and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
how is that how is the whole lockdown? How are you operating now with your business in terms of photography and going out there and shooting, your clients? Like, what's your
So
precautions that you're putting in place?
I the mask definitely. My husband, we're blessed to be able to get the mask from his job. So I definitely have my N95 mask, although it's ridiculously hard to breathe in those
I
in this
know.
southern.
I have them.
Um, Yeah, and then you add the humidity of Georgia, like it's ridiculous. So I have my mask on. I have wipes in the car, so I'm like wiping down every little thing when I get back in the car, and I have hand sanitizer, and just trying to stay 6 feet as possible. It's really because I'm used to being hands on. So normally I'm used to, like, if I place somebody in a pose and then I have to fix the woman's hair, I'm used to doing it myself, and sometimes I have to catch myself that to remind myself touch them. So it's been really cool though. I mainly shoot outside now. I don't really do too much indoor stuff. I've done it once or twice, but I didn't feel like 100% comfortable. But as far as my weddings are concerned, thankfully I haven't had any of my weddings canceled. Well, I've had one that canceled, but they still kind of want to do a shoot later on. But most of my weddings have been postponed until like July. My first one is July the 11th. So we'll see how that goes. It's gonna be a little small wedding, but I'm gonna pray and put my mask on and try not to touch anybody,
Have
um, and see how it goes.
have any wedding venues reached out to you about any precautions that they would like vendors to be taking, or none haven't?
Not really. Before, so my last wedding that I shot was on March the 14th, and that was like 2 days after like all of this stuff kind of happened. And that venue was on it. Like I was very proud, but they were checking temperatures at the door. If you had a temperature, you couldn't come in. They didn't care if you were the bride's mother, you couldn't come in. So of course they came at me with the little thermometer to put on my head, and I got a little nervous. But they were wiping things down. I mean, they really did a good job in my opinion. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of it is going to kind of be in that same vein. But I'm really excited to get back to shooting. I really wish all this was just over. And I feel bad for all the brides and the grooms that are even having to deal with this. My husband, we got married in 2009. And I can't imagine if in the middle of wedding planning, some type of pandemic came out where we couldn't be around each other. So
Yeah.
my heart goes out to everybody that's dealing with it. And I'm just praying and, like I said, doing what I need to do so that when we come out of this, um, my business will keep rocking.
Yeah. It's a very tough situation. So, what words of wisdom would you like to leave the people with before we end this broadcast?
Definitely just do your due diligence. Do your due diligence as far as being a business owner, researching these insurance companies, making sure that you get someone of quality, doing your research as far as our industry, and figuring out what exposures that you have, to make sure that you're even properly addressing that in those insurance policies. Insurance policy can only do as much as you tell the company. So make sure that you're transparent, and try give how do I say it? give the insurance industry a little break. I know you may have heard some bad things. You may have even had some bad experiences in and of yourself, like on your own. But definitely just give them a break, give them a chance to show you what they can do. But insurance is such a valuable partner to your business. It really can be what will keep your doors open sometimes. So definitely don't shy away from it. Get your feet wet, and if you need help, I'm always here. Like I said, I like it. I can talk your head off about it. So definitely reach out and do what you need to do to make sure your insurance can last. I mean, your business can last.
Agreed. Well, again, thank you so much for being on
Mm-hmm.
the show and for sharing your experience and your knowledge on this topic. I think a lot of people, including myself, got a lot of information from it. So I appreciate that. So, guys, again, thank you if you joined us live. Thank you for your questions that you posted. Thank you if you shared the show. Please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Put a thumbs up on the show if you liked it. Put some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think after the broadcast is terminated. Please be sure to follow Ashley on her Instagram and take her up on that freebie that she mentioned because
Mm-hmm.
it's very good. So take her up on that offer. All right, guys. So with that being said, thank you very much for joining us. And from here, we will end the broadcast. I will see you guys next Monday, June 1st at 8 p.m. When we have Justin on talking about how he made $20,000 on his first on his photo shoot. All right. See you guys next week. Take care.